Hey, so last week I was processing some stuff and like thinking about, the direction that God was, taking me in my, my ministry, Son of David messages. I was, thinking about like the overall like direction. And I didn't see what he was I didn't see what God was doing pretty much. So like here's an update. Um So a lot of times, like I get caught up on the step that's in front of me, or what I'm doing at the moment, the task at the moment. Um, I'm because I'm just being obedient to the step, and then like and in the moment, what God has given me is good, like it's real good stuff. So I get so caught up in it, like digging deeper. I talked to my mentor about this. He calls it getting caught in the throes of it. So I do that. Like when God is working with me on like the next message or whatever, I'm so deep in it, and I'm like, ooh, look at this, look at this is good, like digging for jewels and everything. But I do sometimes, um, I don't do it as often as I should, but I do sometimes, stop and zoom out, to look at the whole thing, to see what God is doing overall, not just the next message or the next series, but overall. And I thought I knew what he was, I thought I knew what he was doing, but then I really like I zoomed out even further, and excuse me, I was able to see that he's been doing this, he's been working on this for a while. So um, um, I thought that, or last time I thought about it and reviewed it, it was I was given earlier in this year. I gave recorded 4 messages, right? And they were foundational messages to get us to trust God overall, right? It's some good teaching about not just God, but our teaching about ourselves and our relation to God, our purpose. So the messages started with purpose, purposeful. Um, um, the next one was gifts. Um, then destiny versus free will, or God's will versus free will. The last one, the fourth one, is time versus eternity, and how God, the God of eternity, and how he relates to time and eternity, and all that, right? For, 4 messages. They were supposed to be, I thought they were foundational, right? And they still are, right? They still are foundational messages. I thought that was the start of it, leading up to suffering, right? Suffering is heavy. I'm getting into heavy stuff. I'm actually recording Selected for Suffering Part 1. I recorded this Friday, November 1st. So yeah, heavy stuff. The first message is heavy, some heavy stuff, some good stuff. But it's very helpful. Like, I think it's probably going to be my best, like the most help. It's helped me the most in my life. It's the lessons that I've learned that helped me the most in my life. So, so far. So, Selected for Suffering, this first message is like a framework. So we have a foundation, we have a frame. This first message is going to be like the frame, really good frame. Like, it's not just any kind of really, really good frame. And then the probably the next 2 Selected for Sufferings will be the picture. Think of it like that, like I paint this picture of suffering in a beautiful frame on a foundation, right? So I thought that was the start of it. I zoomed out even more and was just analyzing, because I'm always processing, always thinking. The Bible calls that meditating. I'm muttering to myself. So I talk to myself. My mind is always going. I'm just analyzing and I'm processing some stuff. And then I looked at it, but really, God he's been doing this for years. And I knew that part. I knew he was preparing me for years to deliver this, right? Because I had these messages like 4 or 5 years ago. But I realized more recently that, he wanted me to actually live through some suffering, right? So I can give more authenticity to the message, so I can make it more, it would have more impact, more power. You know, I understood that. But then I look back and I was like, I think, you know, God's been starting this even before the purpose, my purposeful message. Because I went back to, I was looking at the videos on YouTube. By the way, subscribe to the YouTube channel, Son of David Messages. But I look back at, because we're getting to the end of the year, right? And I'm thinking of trying to sneak in a quick, you know, pregnant with purpose part 2, because last Christmas I did pregnant with purpose. And then I was like, wait, so I looked at it. So God's been doing this even longer. This is so pregnant with purpose I recorded in December, pregnant with purpose, and I didn't even correlate, you know, purposeful with pregnant with purpose. It like, those were, to me, in my notes and in my mind, those were separate. They're separate messages. But when I went back and looked, and I'm like, man, some of the points I'm making in pregnant with purpose part 1, it's like all of it is, you can see shades of it throughout, like all of my messages this year, and it's like it's all a lead up. So then, like, and it's not just that one. It's not just pregnant with purpose. The next message was, my story has a happy ending, right? I'm talking about hope. There's an undertone that you might not catch, but since it's been out for months, the undertone is combating suicide. If you go through a lot of my messages, I told my mentor this too. Like, that's always going to be something I'm passionate about, is combating quit and cease and suicide, you know, and trying to deliver hope. So that message is actually a anti-suicide message. My story has a happy ending. So if you watched it before, watch it again with that tone in mind. Try to catch that tone. But I'm giving hope. You know, I'm trying to get you not to quit. But as I'm writing Selected for Suffering, you know, it's already finished. I wrote it. I finished it. But I'm gonna record it. I see the same notes in some of the same tones and points, and, you know, all lead up in my story has a happy ending. So pregnant with purpose, my story has a happy ending. Then I went into purposeful, then talking about gifts, then moving from gifts to free will versus God's will. And then, you know, and these are all, and then I'm talking about eternity, and these are all lead ups, right, to suffering. And I thought, so basically I thought it was like this. Really, it's like, you can't even see that. It's further, it stretches further. This is a continuous message, all with tones of undertones. The deepest tone, undertone is trust God, right? That's the deepest undertone, is trust God. At its very core, that's what I'm trying to get you to do. And also, I'm trying to get you to change your perspective of God, change your perspective of you and your situation, and and how you relate to God and how God relates to you. Widen your scope, like I didn't do. But it's some of the stuff that God was dealing with me in my personal life, you know, things that I was praying to him personally for, and it was, and that was his message to me: trust me, like I know what I'm doing, I got you. And that was organically coming out in my messages. I didn't realize it until more recently. So basically, from the end of last year all the way through the end of this year, and even into next year, is going to be, of course, you know, I'm going to get into suffering. And then I would do I call it case studies, where I take individuals in the Bible and prove the points that I make in Selected for Suffering. And Selected for Suffering is some good stuff. It's some real good stuff. I probably could give you this. Like, I normally don't give anything in the message beforehand. Sometimes, because sometimes I see my like, before I post it, I don't really release it, like, or share it, unless it's with, like, my brother or my mentor or whatever, or my wife. But and part of that is because I was, you know, some people, I've seen some of my some of the stuff, my material pop up in other people's messages. Take that for however you want to take it. Of course, I can't prove any of it, but yeah, I normally don't do that. So that's a part of the reason why I don't do it, and because I like anticipation. I like when you watch a message from me, you don't know that a punch is coming, and then it hits you and it has a bigger impact. I like that because I like movies like that and stories like that. So I like my messages to have that surprise aspect to it. But I can give you this. I can share this because it's some good stuff. So yeah, a part of Selected for Suffering Part 1 that I get to is the fact that we're not all children of God, right? I know that sound crazy because even saying it sound crazy. But we're not all children of God, and I think that's a misconception that a lot of people have, is that they think that that everybody's a child of God, and no, and that's not correct. Um, um, we're all creations of God, right? All of us are creations of God, made in His image, but we're not all children of God. And you can read Romans chapter 8 for that proof. Only those of us who have the Spirit of God that lives in us are His children. And now in the message I go further from that. But just keep in mind what I'm talking about. I'm talking about suffering. So yeah, it's good stuff. It's real good stuff. That's not even a major point. That's just that's just a lead up into something. But yeah, I make two real big impactful statements, I think, in the message. Probably more too. I mean, I'm sure there's more, but for me right now, like when God gave it to me, the revelation to me, these were two big ones. And then the follow-up messages is going to be all good stuff, just really like real good stuff. When I get to the Job message, it's going to be some real good stuff. So I think it will help people, help you with questions like why do good people suffer from bad things? How does God see suffering differently than how we see suffering? The timing of suffering versus the time, it's good stuff. It's all about suffering, like why we suffer. Does everybody suffer? Does everybody suffer the same? Is all suffering the same? It's some good stuff. Yeah, that's it. So stay tuned. Yeah, like, subscribe, share, and do all the good stuff, all the stuff that everybody asks for. Just do all that. Watch it to the end. Like watch each message to the end, because so you don't miss anything. So the plan is, I record Selected for Suffering Part 1. Technically, like that would have been. I wanted to do another message before the end of the year, so it would have been Selected for Suffering Part 2, but I don't know if I don't know. I don't know yet. Because that takes us right after I do Selected for Suffering Part 1. It takes us right into Christmas time, and I wanted to, since last year, I wanted to do a Pregnant with Purpose Part 2. So I might squeeze that in. I'm praying about that, and I'm contemplating that now. If I should in between Selected for Suffering Part 1 and 2, if I should squeeze in Pregnant with Purpose Part 2, and then I'll go into some personal stuff in Pregnant with Purpose Part 2. That's the way I'm leaning. We'll see how things play out. But I'll get into some explanation and some personal stories about how I came to all these, like how God showed me all these revelations about suffering, and it was just a spoiler. It's not a spoiler, but it was through my own suffering, and how I came to all these deeper truths about God. Yeah. So I think that's the plan. But we'll see. I'll pray about it. Yeah. So that's it.